Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to take a hard look at an incident that just happened and is now shaking public opinion across America. A shooting that took place in broad daylight in a peaceful residential neighborhood of Los Angeles. This was not a shootout between the police and dangerous criminals. This was not a bloody act of terrorism. This was the police opening fire on an unarmed woman simply because she did not leave the sidewalk at the moment they ordered her to. In the video, spreading across social media, many have witnessed the moment when a rubber bullet, what is called a less lethal weapon, flew straight into her chest from just a few steps away. Today, we will go over the events minute by minute, examine the causes and consequences, and ask a bigger question. In the land of freedom, can a human life still be threatened simply because of an administrative command? Please subscribe to the channel to follow other important stories. Now, let's begin. The context of the incident, early June 2025. Los Angeles, the city considered the cultural and cinematic hub of America, was enduring the sweltering days of summer. In an ordinary residential neighborhood where families and workers went about their daily lives, no one imagined they would witness a shooting just a few meters away. That day, police had been dispatched to disperse a gathering crowd. Amid the chaos, a woman around 30 years old, whom we will temporarily call A, was still walking along the sidewalk. According to eyewitnesses, she was not holding any weapon, nor did she show any sign of threatening law enforcement or those around her. An officer approached her and ordered her to immediately leave the area. However, she appeared confused, standing still for a few seconds, seemingly unable to comprehend what was happening. In that brief moment, the officer decided to fire a rubber bullet, a type of ammunition described as less lethal but fully capable of causing serious injury when shot at close range. Specific sequence of events. In the video recorded by a passerby on their phone, the entire incident unfolded in just a few seconds but left a lasting sense of shock. At first, the footage shows the woman walking slowly along the sidewalk, her hands empty, her face appearing bewildered. She did not rush toward the police officers, nor did she make any overtly threatening or resisting movements. An officer wearing a bulletproof vest approached her, raised his hand in a signal, and shouted for her to leave the area. In that moment, the woman froze, glancing around as if she couldn't yet process what was happening. Just seconds later, the officer suddenly lifted the rubber bullet gun to shoulder level, aiming it directly at her body. She remained standing still, offering no resistance. A sharp, dry bang rang out, startling many of the people nearby. The rubber bullet, often described as less lethal, shot straight into the woman's chest and abdomen from a very close range, only a few meters away. Immediately, she collapsed onto the concrete, clutching her stomach and letting out a faint groan of pain. Her face contorted, her eyes squeezed shut. One hand gripped the edge of her shirt while the other pressed against the ground, trying to steady herself before she toppled over to one side. All around her, the crowd began to scream, many people recoiling in alarm. An angry male voice shouted, "Why did you shoot her? She didn't do anything." Some people cursed while others rushed forward, only to be held back by officers raising their hands to block them. What fueled the public's outrage even more was that, after the shot, the officer who fired and his colleagues remained in place. They made no immediate effort to administer first aid, did not kneel down to check the victim's condition. In the video, at least two other officers can be seen standing guard, their expressions cold as they surveyed the scene. About 3 minutes later, the sound of ambulance sirens grew closer. Paramedics in blue uniforms hurried to the woman's side, gently lifted her up, and placed her on a stretcher. As the vehicle pulled away, the victim's face was still twisted in pain, though she was conscious, gripping the edge of the stretcher as if in a final instinct of self-protection. That image, an unarmed woman shot down on the sidewalk in broad daylight, has become a moment that left millions stunned and questioning the limits of police power. Community and media reaction. Just a few hours after the incident took place, the video recorded by a witness was posted on social media. At first, it appeared on a personal Twitter account with a short caption, "Look how they treat an unarmed woman." It didn't take long for those images to spread at lightning speed. In less than 24 hours, the clip attracted millions of views, hundreds of thousands of shares, and tens of thousands of outraged comments. On Twitter, many people compared this scene to the episodes of police violence that had shaken America in 2020. The death of George Floyd beneath the knee of a Minneapolis officer, and the rubber bullets fired point blank at Black Lives Matter protesters still remain etched in America's collective memory. Many accounts wrote, "We promised we would change after George Floyd, and yet here we are, someone shot down in the street for not obeying fast enough." Angry hashtags began appearing and quickly climbed to the top of trending topics. Police violence, hash Los Angeles, shooting, hash justice. For her, within a single night, these keywords became the hottest topics on Twitter and TikTok. Numerous celebrities, social activists, and civil rights attorneys also spoke up, demanding the full disclosure of all information. Several civil rights groups, including the ACLU, Human Rights Watch, and local organizations, immediately issued a joint statement emphasizing that firing a rubber bullet at close range can be lethal and represents a serious abuse of force. They put forward three urgent demands: release the identity of the officer who pulled the trigger, publish the full, unedited body cam footage to justify the use of the weapon, and temporarily suspend all individuals involved pending the results of an independent investigation. International media also moved quickly to cover the story. The Guardian, the LA Times, and major outlets like Reuters, CNN, and NBC launched their own investigative features. Several newspapers asked the Los Angeles Police Department directly, why was a less lethal projectile used at such close range? Why was there no additional warning before the shot was fired? Why didn't officers immediately provide medical assistance after shooting? On evening news programs, the image of the woman collapsing onto the sidewalk, clutching her stomach, appeared prominently across screens nationwide. Social media users shared screenshots from the video with the question, "How many more times will it take before enough is enough?" Mounting public pressure forced the Los Angeles Police Department to quickly hold a press conference to offer preliminary explanations of the incident. What did the police say? After public outrage erupted, the Los Angeles Police Department quickly issued an official statement. In the announcement, they asserted, the use of the rubber bullet was deemed necessary to ensure the safety of the scene. The woman failed to comply with dispersal orders and exhibited passive resistance. However, the witness video raised many questions. In the clip, the victim does not make any movement toward the police or display violent threats. She simply stands still, appearing confused, her hands empty, not shouting or holding anything that could be considered a weapon. Many legal experts and human rights advocates argued that in this situation, firing a rubber bullet at close range was entirely unnecessary. A human rights law professor at the University of California observed, rubber bullets are not tools for punishing disobedience. They are meant to be used when there is a real threat to life. For example, if a person is holding a knife or attacking someone else. In the video, there is absolutely no sign of that. In addition, several attorneys questioned whether the officers followed proper warning protocols and whether the victim was given adequate time to leave before shots were fired. This is precisely the key issue that the internal investigation will need to clarify. How dangerous are less lethal weapons? Many people hear the term less lethal round and assume this type of ammunition is safe and merely intended to temporarily subdue. But the reality is very different. Rubber bullets or beanbags are designed to inflict pain and force compliance. When used correctly, from a greater distance and aimed at the legs, they can minimize the risk of severe injury. However, if fired at close range, the impact force increases many times over. Rubber bullets can fracture ribs, puncture internal organs, cause serious bleeding, and even lead to death. According to data from human rights monitoring organizations, in the United States alone in 2020, at least 4 people died after being struck by rubber bullets to the head and chest. This is clear evidence that less lethal does not mean harmless. Physicians for Human Rights once published a report concluding, the term less lethal often creates an illusion of safety. In reality, misuse or improper deployment can easily turn these tools into the cause of irreversible tragedies. For this reason, the fact that police fired at a distance of only a few meters has further fueled questions about accountability and training protocols. Witnesses speak out. After the video went viral, many witnesses who were present at the scene shared with the press what they saw in those moments. A local resident recounted, still sounding shaken. She was just standing there, honestly, just standing still, looking confused, like she didn't know which way to go. I didn't see her do anything threatening, and yet they still raised the gun and fired. Another witness, the person who recorded the video, said that the time between the police shouting the order and pulling the trigger passed in the blink of an eye. They yelled, back up now. And right after that, I heard the shot. She didn't even have time to turn around or raise her hands before she was shot down. It all happened so fast. Many people nearby confirmed they never saw the victim holding any weapon or acting aggressively. Some even said she was about to start moving when the rubber bullet struck her. An elderly woman who was out walking her grandchild at the time recalled in a trembling voice, I heard the bang like a firecracker going off right next to my ear. The young woman clutched her stomach and collapsed. Her face went completely pale. I can't forget the look of fear in her eyes. These accounts further fueled the wave of outrage on social media and deepened public doubts about whether that shot was truly necessary. Investigation and legal accountability. Immediately after the incident erupted into a public controversy, the Los Angeles Police Department issued a statement pledging to launch an internal investigation to clarify the entire situation and determine the level of compliance with protocols. However, many activists and attorneys voiced concerns that this investigation could be merely superficial. Over the years, numerous similar cases have been opened, only to fade into silence without any disciplinary action ever being announced. Several independent oversight organizations called for an external review board separate from law enforcement to ensure transparency. From a legal perspective, human rights experts emphasize that if evidence shows the officer used force beyond what was necessary, the victim would be fully entitled to file a civil lawsuit. Such a lawsuit could seek compensation for medical expenses, psychological trauma, loss of reputation, and other damages related to the shooting. A civil rights attorney commented, if it is determined that this action was not based on a real threat, but merely because the woman did not leave quickly enough, then the officer could face serious disciplinary consequences, including possible termination. This incident is no longer just an isolated episode. It is becoming a test of the public's trust in Los Angeles' promises of police reform. Question about trust in justice. This incident once again raises painful questions about how the law is enforced in America, a nation that has always prided itself on being a symbol of freedom and human rights. Why, after so many cases of police violence were exposed starting in 2020, do scenes like this still happen in broad daylight right in front of the public? Have all the promises of reform and the retraining sessions on de escalation, reducing tension during encounters, really been nothing more than empty words meant to calm public outrage? People still remember how in 2020, after George Floyd's death, millions took to the streets demanding change. Local governments pledged to be more transparent, more humane. But every time a new video emerges, the disappointment only grows deeper. How many more videos, how many more cries for help, and how much more spilled blood will it take for the system to truly change? Does justice mean anything if every promise of reform dissolves over time and the vulnerable continue to become easy victims of violence? This is not just a story about a rubber bullet. It is a reminder that trust in justice is always fragile and that it is society's responsibility not to let that trust disappear again. Final message. Though each of us may differ in our political views, in how we see the role of the police, or in how we define social order, there is one thing almost no one can deny. Human life is always more precious than any instrument of power. When an unarmed person is shot down in the street, the question is not only who is right and who is wrong, but also, are we willing to demand full accountability? This case is not over. The truth about why the shot was fired, how people acted afterward, and the responsibility of each individual involved. All of this still waits to be brought to light. If we stay silent, it will all happen again. But if we speak up, share, and ask questions, we are contributing to building a society where justice is not the privilege of the few, but the basic right of everyone. Justice does not arrive simply because someone says they will reform. It only comes when communities stand together, demand it together, and refuse to accept empty promises ever again. If you believe this story is not just an isolated incident, but a wake-up call about how power can be used, please take a moment to share this video. Every share, every comment, every thought you contribute has the power to spread the truth and remind society that we are still watching, still demanding justice for the most vulnerable among us. Let this video become part of a larger conversation, a conversation about respecting human dignity, about accountability, and about the change we all hope to see. If you'd like to continue joining us on this journey to uncover important stories, expose hidden truths, and hear the voice of the community, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and that way you won't miss any new videos about the events that are shaping the future of justice and human rights. Thank you for listening and caring. We'll see each other again in the stories to come.